I've spent 77 years in this world, and today I'm breaking a silence that should have been shattered long ago. There's a truth everyone knows, but no one has the guts to say out loud. A truth that can completely change the course of your life if you have the courage to face it head on. And I took too long to accept it. Time I can never get back. When I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, I see a man carrying the weight of decades of lies he's told himself. Comfortable lies, lies society accepts, lies that nearly cost me everything that truly mattered. And the worst part is, I see the same lie repeating itself in the lives of people around me. People younger than me. People like you who still have time to change, but who will probably ignore what I'm about to say. Because the truth hurts. And we humans are experts at avoiding pain, even when that pain could save us. I'm 77 years old, and for 62 of those years, I lived completely deceived. Not out of anyone's malice, but because I truly believed the script I was handed as a child. Study, work, start a family, be successful, accumulate achievements, ensure financial security. I did all of that. I was an exemplary man by society's standards. I worked 14-hour days for 35 years. I built a respectable career as a civil engineer. I bought my own home, an imported car, had a robust bank account. My colleagues admired me. My bosses promoted me. My family was proud. I was the picture of success every father wanted his son to be, but I was hollow inside, completely empty. And it took me over 6 decades to understand why. The moment that changed everything happened 15 years ago, when I was 62. I got a call at 3 in the morning. It was my eldest daughter, Helena, crying so hard she could barely speak. My grandson, Lucas, just 12 years old, had been in a serious bike accident, head trauma, critical condition. I rushed to the hospital still in my pajamas, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would explode. When I got there and saw that boy in the hospital bed, hooked up to tubes and machines, something inside me shattered. And you know what the first thing that crossed my mind was? It wasn't a prayer. It wasn't hope. It was a devastating question. How many times did I actually play with this boy? How many Saturday afternoons did I sacrifice because I had reports to finish? How many times did I say I was too busy when he called just to chat? I stood there holding that unconscious boy's hand and realized I barely knew him, barely knew my own grandson. He was in a coma for 11 days, 11 hellish days, where I had to face the real possibility of losing him without ever truly being present in his life. 11 days replaying every lost moment, every wrong choice, every misplaced priority. Lucas survived, thank God, but I died in that hospital. The man who walked into that hallway at 3:15 in the morning was not the same one who walked out 2 weeks later. Something fundamental had broken inside me, and with that break came a brutal clarity I had avoided my entire life. And you know what haunts me the most to this day? Realizing I wasn't alone in my blindness. I look around and see thousands, maybe millions of people making the exact same mistakes I did. People trapped in the same snare, believing the same lies, postponing the same important things. Tell me here in the comments, do you also feel like you're living on autopilot, chasing after things you're not even sure matter deep down? You can just write, "I feel like I'm chasing after," and fill in whatever comes to mind. Don't overthink it, just be honest. Because when we put these things into words, when we admit them out loud, it's the first step to truly waking up. And your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to find the courage to change. So tell me, what are you chasing after? Let me tell you the secret no one wants to hear, the secret I discovered too late but can still share with you. Everything you've been taught about what matters in life is wrong. Not a little wrong. Completely, absolutely devastatingly wrong. Society sold you a beautiful lie, nicely wrapped, with a shiny bow on top. They told you you need to be productive, be successful, be important, be recognized, be admired. They told you you need to work hard now to enjoy later. They told you sacrifice today means reward tomorrow. They told you that you have time, that you can fix things later, that you can dedicate yourself to your family when your career is established, that you can travel when you retire, that you can follow your dreams when you have financial security. All lies, cruel and dangerous lies that steal your life while you're not looking. For decades, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, got home at 9 at night, weekends, working, holidays, working, vacations, brought work along. My wife, Mariana, tried to warn me hundreds of times. You're missing our children's childhood, she'd say. You're never really here, even when you're physically present, she'd repeat. But I always had an excuse ready. I'm doing this for you. I'm building our future. Just one more project. Just one more promotion. Just one more year. Lies I told her, and most importantly, myself. My youngest son, Andre, was 7 when he stopped inviting me to play catch. He simply stopped asking. I didn't realize it at the time. I was too busy solving a foundation problem on a commercial construction site. Years later, when he was already a teenager and barely spoke to me, my wife told me he had cried that day at 7 years old and said his dad didn't like him, that I only liked work. By the time she told me this, he was 16. I had lost nearly a decade of connection with my son because of my blindness. And nothing, absolutely nothing, I built professionally compensated for that loss. I had a coworker, Roberto, who died at 53, a massive heart attack while driving to the office on a Monday morning. Roberto was just like me, maybe even worse. He lived for his work. He planned to retire at 65 to finally travel with his wife, to finally have time for his hobbies, to finally live. He never made it to 65. He never took that trip. He never had that time. At his funeral, his wife was devastated, but you know what shocked me the most? His kids barely seemed sad. They seemed detached, like they were at the funeral of an acquaintance, not their own father, and I understood why. They didn't know their father. Their father was never truly present, and now he never would be. After Lucas's accident, I did something I should have done decades earlier. I quit. At 62, with a stellar career, I just walked away. My colleagues thought I'd lost my mind. My boss tried to convince me to stay, offering more money, more benefits, more status. He didn't get it. I didn't want any of that anymore. I wanted my life back. I wanted to know my grandchildren before it was too late. I wanted to reconnect with my kids. I wanted to be truly present in my wife's life, who had waited for me patiently for 40 years. The first few months were strange. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd spent so much time defining myself by my work that I didn't know who I was without it. But slowly, I started rediscovering things. I started picking Lucas up from school 3 times a week. I sat with him to do homework. I played video games with him, even though I was terrible. I listened to him talk about things that didn't interest me in the slightest, but that were important to him. And you know what happened? I started genuinely caring. I started knowing him as a person, not just a grandson. I started having real memories with him, not just blurry photos of rushed encounters. I started having long conversations with my kids. Real conversations, not those 5-minute phone calls where I feigned interest while reading emails on my computer. I found out Helena, my oldest daughter, always wanted to be a writer, but gave up the dream because I told her it didn't pay the bills. I found out Andre had been severely bullied at school for years, and I never knew because I was never available for him to confide in me. I found out my middle son, Fernando, was afraid of disappointing me by not being as professionally successful as I'd hoped. All these things were happening right under my nose, and I had no idea because I was too busy being important at work. I started dating my wife again. Yes, dating. After 40 years of marriage, I had to learn to court her again because I realized over the last 20 years I'd treated her more like a household manager than the woman I loved. I started making small gestures. Breakfast in bed, little notes with silly messages, walks holding hands in the late afternoon, ridiculously simple things I'd stopped doing because I was too important, too busy, too tired. And she bloomed. She literally bloomed before my eyes. That tired, resigned woman I'd created over the years transformed again into the vibrant woman I'd fallen in love with at 22. Here's the brutal truth I took 77 years to fully grasp. Nothing you acquire matters. Absolutely nothing. Not the car you drive, not the house you live in, not the title you hold, not how much money is in your bank account, not how many followers you have on social media, not how many awards you've won. None of it holds any value when you're lying in bed, old and frail, replaying your life. At that moment, and trust me because I'm living that moment now, only 3 things matter. First, the people you loved and who loved you back. Second, the real moments of connection you had with those people. Third, whether you had the courage to be who you truly were or if you spent your whole life wearing a mask to please others. Everything else is noise. It's distraction. It's society selling you a definition of success that has nothing to do with real happiness. They sell you the idea that you need to conquer, accumulate, impress, surpass. But conquer what? Accumulate what? Impress whom? People who don't truly know you? People who will forget you 5 minutes after you're gone? What kind of victory is that? I have a friend, George, whom I met a few years ago at a support group for elderly men. George is 81 and was a billionaire businessman. He sold his company for a fortune when he was 70. He had everything money could buy. But you know what he told me? That he'd give every single cent, every property, every investment for just one more day with his wife who died 5 years ago. A wife he neglected his entire life because he was busy building his empire. He has enough money to live 15 lifetimes, but he can't buy back a single day with the woman he loved. He can't undo the 40 years he prioritized meetings over family dinners. He can't reclaim the conversations he never had, the hugs he never gave, the presents he never offered. Let me ask you a few direct questions, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself in answering them. When was the last time you had a real, deep, distraction-free conversation with someone you love? When was the last time you did something for the pure joy of doing it without worrying if it was productive or useful? When was the last time you truly stopped, took a deep breath, and appreciated the present moment instead of worrying about the past or planning the future? When was the last time you prioritized a relationship over an obligation? When was the last time you chose to be present instead of available? If you're struggling to answer these questions, you're exactly where I was. Trapped in a snare you don't even realize exists. The truth nobody wants to hear is this: you are wasting your life. Right now, at this very moment, as you read these words, you are wasting precious time that will never come back. You are postponing important things for urgent things that aren't actually important. You are sacrificing presence for productivity. You are trading real life for an artificial version of success that society has convinced you to chase. And the worst part is, you probably know it. You probably feel it deep in your soul. That constant unease, that sense that something is wrong, that little voice whispering that you're missing something essential. But you ignore that voice. You drown it out with work, with distractions, with elaborate excuses about why you can't change now. I'll tell you about Maria, my neighbor. She was 69 and always talked about how she'd travel all over the country when she finally retired. She had a list of places she wanted to see: Niagara Falls, the Grand Canyon, the beaches of Hawaii, the deserts of Arizona. That's what she'd talk about every time we met. Just 2 more years. She'd say, just got to finish paying off the condo for the son. Just got to save a little more money for security. Maria died of cancer 3 months before her planned retirement. She never saw the falls. She never explored the Grand Canyon. She spent 70 years putting her dreams on hold, and the dreams died with her. At the funeral, I found the list at her house, a yellowed, handwritten list with 23 destinations. None of them crossed off. None of them lived. If I could go back in time and talk to my 30-year-old self, you know what I'd tell him? I'd say, you're doing it all wrong. Stop right now. Drop that report. Cancel that meeting. Go home and have dinner with your family. Take your kid and go play catch. Not tomorrow. Not this weekend. Now. Hug your wife and tell her you love her. Not because it's her birthday or Valentine's Day, but because she needs to hear it every single day. Stop worrying so much about what other people think and start worrying about what you really want. Stop chasing a definition of success that isn't yours. Stop postponing real life for empty promises of a future that might never come. Wake up. Wake up before it's too late. I'd also say, that promotion you're killing yourself for, it's not worth it. The recognition you're chasing, it doesn't fill the void. The extra money you're pursuing, it doesn't buy back lost time. Those overtime hours you're putting in, they're stealing your life. That obsessive dedication to work, it's a way of running from what truly matters. You think you're building something great, but you're just squandering the most precious time you have on this planet. I'm 77 now, and for the first time in my life, I feel truly happy. Seems ironic, doesn't it? Less time ahead, less energy, fewer possibilities, but more happiness. You know why? Because I finally understand what matters. I finally stopped chasing ghosts and started truly living. I spend my days doing simple things that fill me with joy. I have long breakfasts with my wife, talking about everything and nothing. I pick up my grandkids from school and listen to their stories without rushing. I read books I've always wanted to read. I watch the sunset without feeling guilty for not being productive. I call my kids for no particular reason, just to say I love them. I hug the people who matter and linger in the embrace longer than socially expected. And you know what? I don't regret leaving my career. I don't miss the status, the recognition, the power, none of that. What I deeply regret in a way that physically hurts, is not doing it 30 years ago. Not waking up when I still had time to create real memories with my young children. Not being truly present in my wife's life during the decade she needed me most. Missing so much time chasing things that ultimately meant absolutely nothing. But you still have time. Maybe not a lot, because none of us knows how much time we have, but you have more than I do. You have today. You have now. You have this moment, and you can choose to do something different. You can choose to wake up. You can choose to stop wasting your life on things that don't matter and start investing in what truly counts. You don't have to do what I did and quit everything at once. But you need to start. You need to take small steps. You need to question the priorities you've never questioned. You need to look honestly at your life and ask, is this what I really want? Is this how I want to be remembered? Is this the legacy I want to leave? Because in the end, and this is the most fundamental truth there is, you won't be remembered for how many hours you worked. You won't be remembered for how much money you made or what title you held. You'll be remembered, if you're lucky, for the love you gave, for the presence you offered, for the difference you made in the lives of the people who crossed your path. And even that memory will fade in a generation or two. Your great-grandchildren probably won't know your name. So for God's sake, stop living to impress people who don't matter and start living for the people who truly love you. The secret no one wants to hear is simple and devastating. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. And when that moment comes, and it will come much faster than you imagine, nothing you've accumulated will go with you. Nothing you've achieved will matter. The only thing that will remain are the memories of the people you've touched, the real moments you've lived, the love you've given and received. So stop postponing it. Stop saying you'll change later. Stop waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. It always was now. It always will be now. If you've made it this far, if you've read all of this, it's because something inside you recognizes this truth. Something inside you knows you need to change. You're not alone on this journey. This channel exists precisely for people like you, people who are starting to wake up, people who want to truly live before it's too late. Subscribe here to receive more stories, more hard truths, more lessons I've learned over 77 years of life. Hit like if these words resonated with you in any way, if they made you reflect, even if it was uncomfortable. And please, please, tell me in the comments below, what are you going to do differently starting today? What's the first thing you're going to change? What relationship will you prioritize? What dream will you stop putting off? I'd love to read your story, to know that somehow my experience can help you avoid making the same mistakes I did. The clock is ticking for all of us. Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back. What are you going to do with the time you have left?